This is Raul Ramirez of the Catch Wrestling Alliance, where we help you elevate your grappling, and together we keep real wrestling alive. Thank you very much for joining us, whether you're watching us from our YouTube channel, our Twitch channel, or just listening to the audio through virtually any podcast platform, including like the more obscure ones. Like we're even on like Audible and um, like Samsung podcasts and stuff like that. So try to make it easy for everyone to find us. So welcome, thank you. So we got a couple of announcements. So in a couple of weeks, really, our UCLA catch wrestling program and Sanda program is starting back up again. Our Sanda program was actually one of the most popular at UCLA at the university there. So hopefully we just keep growing it, keep growing both the Sanda and the catch wrestling programs there. It's great that one of the two is already one of the most popular, and so let's just try to keep growing the popularity of the catch wrestling as well. So so just really looking forward to that, getting more students involved. We also still have our ongoing catch wrestling program at Fight Science MMA here in Los Angeles. Also, people ask from the East Coast, like who they can train with. Regardless of your location, you really need to like make the pilgrimage to South Carolina to train with John Strickland there. His organization is called American Hook Wrestling. So, yes, you can train. If not, if you can't make it, if you're in some other location or in another country, feel free to join our CWA Academy. So that is our online platform, just on our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. So that's always there for you. And you just be active in the chat room there. Happy to help, happy to answer questions. Just to let everyone know that got a lot going on. A lot of stuff's going on at UCLA too. So yeah, I believe that they might have to reinstate a wrestling program because they got into a different conference and stuff like that. So we'll see if more wrestling comes to the university and if we can't get catch wrestling more involved with that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the subject, because this is also coming up. I did see online there was a pretty cool social media post. Unfortunately, I forgot who posted it, but I think it was some jiu-jitsu person who it's probably like a physical therapist or chiropractor or something that wanted to highlight how the idea is wrong. Where a lot of people will say like, oh, how do I improve my cardio for jiu-jitsu or even for wrestling and stuff? And so this a lot of people are like the traditional belief, the traditional thought is that you just need to roll more, keep wrestling more, keep rolling more, and your cardio will improve. It is well, you have to. It's not. So basically, what the study shows that it's not true. But what will happen, like if you only roll, you will get used to it. But say like if you were to do a longer match, say if you had a longer time limit match that you weren't used to, say if you're only used to like the 5 or 6 minute matches in a lot of the common jiu-jitsu tournaments, if you had to do anything further than that or longer than that, then you'd probably gas out and lose, right? So okay, so I've been a trainer for UCLA like a long time ago when I was still a student there, and so strength and conditioning was a major part, or like a major thing that we really needed to help like the student athletes, and just everyone in general to know, because say like a lot of student athletes and even professional athletes, they're not only practicing their sport. They're not only doing football. They're not only doing basketball or whatnot. They're also spending time in the gym doing strength and conditioning. So all of what that means is like, you're strengthening your body, you're conditioning your body for your sport in particular, right? So if you do like an endurance sport, you will have to do more endurance type things that basically challenge your body for a longer period of time. or if you're like an explosive sport. So a lot of times, like football, like American football, will you'll just have one quick burst of energy and then you rest for a really long time. So you train these types of short intensity, high energy bursts. So you get used to being able to do those, and so that, like, strength and conditioning doesn't only make that stronger, it actually helps to prevent injury also. So these are one of the major reasons why just rolling or just wrestling is not going to be the best for you, especially in the long term. You really need to be doing a mix of your technique training, like your drilling, your rolling, but also the strength and conditioning. All right. So like even an example. So say like even um, uh, like for like even on the thumbnail of this of our YouTube, like our YouTube thumbnail for this live stream shows Joe Stecker. So one of the greatest American catch wrestlers who ever lived. He was, they called him the Scissor King, and so he used to train squeezing these bales of, say, like rice sacks or corn, and he would squeeze them until they would just rip open. And so that wasn't the only thing he would do for strength and conditioning, but it was doing something that wasn't rolling. It was doing something that wasn't um, specifically on another person, right? So these are the things that would be considered like strength and conditioning. But again, everything is like more sport specific. But ultimately, I mean, it is good to be doing the weights. It's good to be doing the cardio, like actual cardio, which wrestling and stuff truly isn't. Really, it really needs to be something that is more sustained for a longer period of time. Definitely, say like well, even in right now the freestyle world championships going on, like they have what, so like 6 minute total, where a lot of breaks, like the referees breaking up or blowing the whistle a lot, standing them back up, doing all these things. So it's really not a consistent movement of your body, right? You need to be doing these types of longer term, movements, right? Where it's called submaximal. So it's like where you can still do an activity, it's still challenging, but you keep moving for a longer period of time and you don't stop. You can do these things to, say, like improve your stamina, improve your race speed or your running speed, and these are like called like interval training. So you can also do this for, say, like for catch wrestling specifically, since say in the Catch Wrestling Alliance events, our time limit is 20 minutes per match. So you can use the strategy of tiring out your opponent to help you win a match, right? So with that being said, then you need to be training your stamina as well. So it would include things like interval training, where you can like, say, like run for very, 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 very hard, say for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then you decrease your speed, but you continue running, right? So it's like a slower run, and then you do like a really harder run where it's almost completely like your full strength, right? These types of things are more beneficial. It's like, and these are actually considered more like cardio than, say, like if you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're kind of rolling, say like someone's stuck on your back, or you have someone's back and you're just kind of trying to fight for whatever, like whatever technique you're doing, and so you're kind of like a stalemate. Or even you might have someone's back and like and so you kind of just relax, right? So then all of a sudden it's no longer cardio, so you can't call it that at all. So I think people don't quite understand this differentiation, and so by doing the things like interval training, doing the weightlifting and whatnot, then you improve all the different aspects of your wrestling game or your jiu-jitsu game, and so then you can also perform longer, have better like explosive power, better muscular endurance during your match. Also, you will minimize your chances of getting hurt. And that's like one of the most important things, because we all love our sport. We all love wrestling. We all love grappling, and you want to do it for a really long time. And doing strength and conditioning is the way to make sure, or to necessarily make sure, because it's not like guaranteed. Anybody can get some kind of crazy injury or whatever, but you decrease your chances of having some kind of like career-ending injury, right? So, so with that being said, I'll just give you a quick rundown of, say, like like some of the exercises that you can do. It's so simple. Like, so might as well just show you, right? So even for your upper body, really, if you want to think simply, and if you don't have access to a gym or you have like weights or even like a cable machine and whatnot, really just think of like doing any type of movement that's like pushing forward, right? So any kind of push up, right? And then a row. So that means like, so if you're pushing forward, you want to train the opposite movement, right? So that's pulling back. So these are called rows, right? So a push and then a pull, and then you want to do a push up, right? So that would be not a push up like the exercise, but pushing up. So there's like a different plane, right? So this would be strengthening your shoulder a little bit more specifically, like your deltoid muscles, right? And so then if you push up, then you want to do the opposite thing. So you pull down. So a lot of times in the gym, that's called like a lat pull down, right? So those are the main movements of your upper body, right? You don't necessarily have to be doing like your bicep curls and stuff like that. Those are usually like considered like vanity exercises. But if you're doing the types of, say, like the push pull, push up, pull down, that has been shown to really help stabilize your shoulders, really minimize shoulder injuries, but also it's going to make you stronger in your sport as well. So there's the other thing about that, then, and I would say, like, you can talk, if you end up getting like a strength and conditioning coach, then you can talk about that with them, because there's different types of, say, like weightlifting protocol. So like, say if you're doing American football, right, then you need a little bit more explosive power. So you can be doing different types of weightlifting exercises. So like one for the leg, like one of the main things for your leg is any type of squat movement. So whether you have a barbell or if you just do regular squats, or you can do say like lunges or these different types of squat type exercises. It's like really one of the best things for your legs. So later on, you can find ways to increase the intensity, like if you don't have weights. But a lot of times you can just hold stuff, like whether it be like some kettlebells are pretty popular, or even if you don't have kettlebells, and you can I would say just try to find something where you can kind of know what the weight is, right? So even if you have a cat and you have litter, a lot of times it's like they tell you how much litter you're by the pound, like that you're buying, right? So like a 10-pound bag or whatever, or rice, right? If you have a rice, whatever. A lot of times they tell you the weight, or if you have a scale at home, you can weigh these things, and then you can increase the weight over time. So these types of movements are like kind of like some of the major ones. So it's like for upper body, push, pull, push up, pull down, any type of squat type of movement for the legs. You can also do lower back exercises, kind of similar to like oh man, what is it? Like when you do planks and stuff like that. But then say like if for sport specific stuff, you might need to focus on the explosive power or muscular endurance. So usually muscular endurance means that you're going to be doing higher amounts of reps and shorter amount of rest. So those are the different types of things that you want to take into consideration. And depending on your sport, you have to do a little bit different exercises. And personally, I think, say for combat sports, even like especially like the catch wrestling and whatnot, since you're kind of hanging on to the person or trying to hold on to them, even like stuff like battle ropes I approve of those, right? All right. Okay. So we actually have a bunch of questions already. Feel free to ask. That was just mostly my 2 cents. So ultimately, like the main point was that there's research studies going around saying that really only doing your sport or only rolling is like considered the best way to build up your cardio for your sport, but it isn't exactly true. You have to be doing the strength conditioning to build up your body to do your sport better, right? So even if you only rolled or only wrestled and stuff, you can, build up your stamina, but it wouldn't necessarily be the most ideal way. So the most ideal way would be including strength and conditioning into your training, right? So if anybody wants to ask me more questions specifically, maybe we can try to set up a private talk or whatever, then we can discuss things more specifically. But let's get to your questions here. Okay, so Rafael Toledo, he says, is catch wrestling good for street self-defense? Yes, it is one of the excellent base styles for self-defense. I mean, it's so good that militaries, would use it as a base style to teach their soldiers and stuff to fight. Really, when that was more a part of fighting, right? Especially in the war and stuff. Now it's more gun based or whatever, but still, it is a very good base style for self-defense. Okay, Liam Burgess. Hey man, I was an established kickboxer and Muay Thai. I got jumped and ended up getting hospitalized. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There's a lot to self-defense. All right, so we even had one of our students in Canada. One of the reasons why they started training was because they were attacked. So sometimes you might just be in the wrong place at the wrong time, where training or not, someone just might think that you are someone that they want to attack for some reason, and they might just attack you, without any provocation. So, you never know. Okay, Liam Burgess. I ended up training under Ian Bromley for a while, and I believe catch wrestling is a good solid base for ground and massively improved strength and conditioning endurance. Yes. Liam Burgess, catch can by any means necessary. Mikas Palmas. How much overlap does catch wrestling have with BJJ, Sambo, and other grappling styles? There are some kind of universal, say takedowns and stuff. So there would be a lot of overlap there. But a lot of times from what I've seen in Sambo and a lot of the competition stuff, Sambo and Lucha, was it? Yeah, what do they call it? Luta Livre. In Brazil and stuff, then they totally abandoned the pins. So then catch wrestling hasn't abandoned the pins, right? So there's still more of the emphasis on that, of staying off your back and whatnot. So and also too, a lot of Sambo you still have the jacket and stuff. So then there's that's a huge difference, because you're not quite able to hang on to someone's clothes. Right, but again, there's definitely one of the major differences would be the emphasis on the wrestling, the emphasis of getting someone onto their back. That would be the big difference. But other than that, there is a lot of overlap. Say there's actually more of a freedom with catch wrestling, because you can do a lot of the different types of pain compliance moves, to get someone to move the way you need them, as that stuff that would be illegal or tends to be illegal in jiu-jitsu competition. A lot of the neck crank stuff, which tends to be illegal in a lot of jiu-jitsu competitions. That's the stuff that is kind of just day one catch wrestling stuff. Liam Burgess, what are your top-rated submissions or holds? Really, the double wrist lock is one of the best ones. One that I like a lot, personally. One that I think once people start getting used to it, that they can actually hold on to it and kind of move with the person, with your opponent. Because when you have a more skilled opponent, they're going to know all these different types of ways to get out of the double wrist lock. But once you get used to that, then you can kind of end up hanging on to it longer, and maybe you can turn it into another type of submission, or you can kind of follow the person as they try to escape, and you still end up getting a submission or pin. So that one's always been my favorite. Neck crank stuff is always good, or toe hold stuff is always really good. I think ultimately the double wrist lock works most for me personally, and then the toe hold stuff, and then quite often, or like I guess last would be like the neck crank stuff. I think just because a lot of times you can pin someone, but a lot of times as they try to fight off, like, or even like say in jiu-jitsu, a lot of times like you pass their guard, you pin them basically, and they start trying to push you like down your body. They try to kind of do some kind of push and kind of shrimp out. A lot of times they when they shrimp, they end up bending their knees, and so their foot's like really close, and so like they give you a toe hold a lot of times. So a lot of times I feel like they give you like double wrist locks and toe holds much sooner than neck crank stuff, unless you're really good at like maybe taking someone's back, or snapping them down and then going for like the front face lock or something like that. Then chances are you'll probably be able to get like a double wrist lock submission or a toe hold type submission easier, at least in my opinion and my experience. Eddie Arvelo, who do you think is a great coach on the East Coast? Hands down, the number one on the East Coast is John Strickland. Mikas Palmas, thanks. I've never trained any type of fighting, but just through research, catch wrestling seems like the most solid and versatile grappling base to start with concerning MMA. Yeah, I think ultimately the foundation and pins and pinning, that whole idea would be one of the most beneficial for self-defense, for MMA and stuff, because it's all about controlling the other person, right? Or trying to gain control and maintain control over the other person. And that is really vital. And it's coming up more and more nowadays with like, from jiu-jitsu and stuff, and especially like no-gi grappling, where, these gurus and stuff are talking more about like pins and stuff, like, John Danaher and even Gordon Ryan are talking about pins being important. So basically what it is ultimately is not just like, being chest to chest with somebody and like they're on their back. It's more than that. It's like controlling their limbs and whatnot, so that you can then have a higher chance of completing your submission, right? So that's how you want to think about it. It's not just like the same old like where you think maybe like a pin and then someone counts to 3 or anything like that. No, it's different than that. It is keeping someone down, and you can move your body around that one point where you're pinning them down, and then you can set up your submission holds and have a higher chance of completing them. It doesn't mean like nothing's like 100%. So I remember reading in one of John Danaher's posts about where he's talking about the benefits of pins, and yeah, like even he kind of says it's like it's not necessarily like 100% guaranteed that you'll get it, but you have a higher chance of being able to complete your submissions. So hopefully that was helpful to you. Yeah, I think it's one of the most solid and versatile grappling styles because it does have the takedowns and submission holds. It's cognizant of the submission holds, so that's where like freestyle and these other amateur wrestling styles are lacking, right? Yeah. So Liam Burgess. I'm in England and I'm up early in the morning. Just wanted to drop in and support the channel, show some love, and thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you, Liam. All right, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what time it is over there, but yeah, I think you guys are like 8 hours ahead of LA or something like that. So hopefully you have a good day. Thanks for stopping by, and feel free to ask any questions in the future. So. And I don't have a scheduled time to do the live stream, but I just try to do it when I can. But anybody, go ahead and feel free to ask any more questions. Oh, it's 2309 over there. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So it's like 209 for us here in Los Angeles. So what is that? 1409 or whatever. Okay. Juger. No, hopefully I pronounced it right. I didn't find any catch wrestling techniques DVD from beginner to advanced. It would be awesome. Like the Gracies made a Gracie Combatives DVD to practice at home and pair with drills and all that stuff. Well, I'd say, feel free to check out our, our CWA Academy on our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. Yeah, it has like the fundamental moves. We worked on and developed a kind of like a self-defense program. I think I just need to re-record it and then put that up, like more of the self-defense stuff. But I mean, ultimately, like catch wrestling is, because of the wrestling aspect and the control aspect, then it's really one of the better things for self-defense. But ultimately, you want to think of self-defense as trying to create distance, doing things where you can create distance to get away from the other person. But if they continue like attacking you, then you would have to control them, get them down and control them, but not necessarily like destroying them, like breaking their, like killing them or doing anything that could potentially kill them. That is that can get you into trouble, like legally. They can come back and sue you and whatnot, depending on like how badly you hurt them. But it's all about controlling them and not hurting someone way beyond what they did to you, right? Because then that puts you, that makes you the attacker. Cool. So going back to the original point, so strength and conditioning, should you do it? Ultimately, yes, if you can. So the way you want to think about it would be, still doing your, going to your classes, doing the technique drills, still sparring. Spar all you want, really. But then if you have time, so maybe at a different time during the day or another day, then you can be doing your cardio, you can be doing your weightlifting. And then also the thing that people really forget is the flexibility training, right? So you have to be stretching and whatnot. Otherwise, then like if you start losing your range of motion, then that also increases your chances of getting injured. So this is when you'll see, like, a lot of times, like the professional athletes, regardless of the sport, they're pulling their hamstring or getting sciatica, so they're getting like lower back pain and they have nerve pain shooting down their legs and whatnot. So a lot of times it's like the flexibility. So they're very strong, but they're really inflexible. And so then their strength and conditioning teams have, for some reason, have a problem with making sure that the athletes are limber. A lot of times, like these sports, like these professional sports, they just really they have like a very busy schedule. So a lot of times it's just like, if you feel decent, then they'll send you back out. So it is, it can be problematic where, like if it's for like a sport that has like a ton of games that they have to play, then, you'll see these people getting injured. Mike Palmas, or I'm sorry, Mikas Palmas. Is there a way to find affiliate catch wrestling schools? Yeah, actually, I have to update the website. I'm sorry, I really need to do that. So besides LA, we also have someone in New Mexico. I'll just update the website and then see if there's if they have a link to any school or whatnot, then I'll put that up. Eddie Arvelo. I'm a former pro wrestler that fell in love with the chaining aspect of wrestling that led me to learn more from the catch community. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Oh, well, thank you, Eddie. I'm glad. Actually, I have one of my good friends is a really good pro wrestler, Jennifer Thomas, and she, again, kind of like you, where she had this love of wrestling, and so then through her research, because she's in LA too. So then through her research, she found me, and then she started training. But yeah, I've been meeting more and more pro wrestlers, and that also want to learn like the traditional catch wrestling, and so it's really cool to see that. And pro wrestling is really cool as well. I think people don't understand how much training is involved, and how it's really an art form in itself. All right, so I was talking about the flexibility training. Yeah, you have to stretch basically. It's like the thing that people seem to hate the most about like working out and stuff. But yeah, it's really gonna save your life. It's gonna again, I think that's one of the biggest things that is going to like help protect your body, at least in the long term as well. But yeah, you definitely got to be doing all of the different aspects. Because I've seen even like some yoga teachers who were just like hyper flexible and weren't really doing the strength stuff, like the weights or these other types of like muscle building activities. So then in a way they were too flexible, and they ended up with different types of like injuries where they would have nerve problems as well. So again, it is all part of the pie, right? You got to be doing all these different things. So you're like, so to recap, you got to be doing the flexibility, you got to be doing the strength and the strength and conditioning, so like the cardio, the resistance training, and then your sport. So you have to work on the techniques of your sport, so like drilling, and then of course doing your sport. So the sparring, the rolling and whatnot. And so that's why I think that like if you had like a complete program where, say if you had a gym where they did everything, right? They had everything. They had strength and conditioning and stuff. So if you had a catch wrestling class, then in your catch wrestling class, you can maybe do a short warm up, but then drill and then spar, but you'll and then like on say like at the same day or different days, you'll be doing the strength and conditioning training, right? But quite often, what you'll see is kind of a traditional way of training where you'll have coaches lead people through all these different types of like difficult warm-ups. Like they usually call them like warm-ups, where you do all these kinds of like activities for like a really long time, and ultimately that's not necessary. But I think maybe it came out of the idea where it's like you're doing everything all at one training session, but ultimately you'll get less time sparring, or depending on how much time you have in the day, you might ultimately have less time to get better at your sport. So really it would be ideal if you had the ability and the time to separate all these things, just have a concentrated like drilling and sparring time, and then at a different time have your strength conditioning session. So that would also kind of give you time to like really focus on both things, both aspects. So that those are my 2 cents. And kind of like when I was still in at the university, they would, like for the student athletes, they would develop these training manuals, like especially for like when it was summertime and all the students were going home, they developed these manuals that had different types of exercises that were more sport specific, so the athletes could be doing them at home on their own. So I mean, it's very important ultimately. So so I just want you to see everything kind of like as a big, I don't know, a big pie or a big puzzle. And so I'd say pie is better, right? Because you think each slice is like a different thing, but they all make the whole, and the whole is going to make you healthier, right? so maybe don't think of it as a pie. Think of it as a very healthy vegetable pie that tastes good, right? And when everything's together, then it tastes even better, right? So yeah, all these things work together to create like a safer, less injured, more longevity, right? So it'll help you to be less injured and to do your sport longer, right? So that's the way you want to think about it. So like if there's any aspect about it that you hate the most, like the stretching and stuff, just think, oh, this is going to help prevent injuries, going to help me help prevent sciatica, because that's like so common where people get like this nerve pain that shoots down their leg. It is miserable, right? It just really takes over your body because it's painful, and it's like this internal pain that it's difficult to recover from. So you don't want these things, right? You want to be out doing your sport. So just if you can do this little bit of prevention, it's going to help a lot. So try to think of it that way. It's like these things that you kind of don't like, they're good for you, right? Or maybe even try to make it interesting. So like even like say if there is like a yoga class that you like, or a teacher that has a cool yoga style that helps you with your range of motion, then do that. Totally fine. So it doesn't have to be so rigid, where you think like, oh, everything has to be this certain way by whatever. No, you can get creative about it. It's about you being strong and having a full, like, wide range of motion, and you should be able to do your sport, whatever sport it is, even if it's not catch wrestling. You should be able to do it longer and with less injuries overall. All right, so that's statistically speaking, right? You decrease your chances of getting injured. All right, so yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Also, if you want to support our channel, if you're here on YouTube, you can become a member. We have a bunch of different videos that are behind they're basically member only, right? So you feel free to do that. We try to add more and more. I posted one recently where I drained my cauliflower ear. It's almost completely healed, like on this side. So it's just a little bit of juice left. So I'll probably just leave it because it's just like so little. But yeah, but anyway, besides that, we have also alternative endings to some of our main videos where we show a technique. We try to show like an alternate submission that you can get. So that we leave that as like a member only perk and stuff. So all of it helps. Or if anybody wants to train on our online, you can join our Catch Wrestling Alliance Academy. That's on our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. Right. So appreciate everyone. Also, we really have to kind of help support the sport. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of like talking about, like, say, like even like the lesser. So like if we talk about MMA, a lot of times we talk about one championship because it's not like the main. It's becoming more and more well known, but it's not like the main one that's well known. Also talk about like actually hopefully we'll probably be doing some sumo highlights because the new sumo tournament just started in Japan. So we'll probably show stuff like that, or even there were some really cool. I don't know if anybody saw the women's freestyle championship right now. The American Helen Maroulis, she got some cool trips on a few women, and so we'll kind of show like maybe some of the lesser known stuff, maybe even some of the definitely some of the sumo highlights and how you can apply them in catch wrestling. So yeah. So Age of Machines. So thank you for the super chat, or thank you very much. So thanks for all the good info. I know next to nothing about catch wrestling, starting from scratch, reasonably healthy. All right, so let's try to keep you even stronger and more flexible. All right, so yeah, keep it up. Jamala, thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. Oh, thank you. So if you have any questions about any topics that we can discuss next time, just let us know on any of the social media, or you can comment on this video, in the comments below, or we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even, right? We're even on TikTok. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions, and then maybe it'll become like the main topic of the next live stream. All right, so thanks again, and let's try to help you elevate your grappling, and so together we can keep real wrestling alive. Thanks.